All right, folks, we have some major breaking news. Another Epstein bombshell has been dropped on Donald Trump and his administration, which completely contradicts many of the claims they've been making. This story is explosive, it's brand new, and there's absolutely no time to waste. I want to dive in right now. Before we do so, make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, comment some blue hearts, some American flags, and let's dive right in. So, as many of you know, just the other day, we learned that the FBI and the Department of Justice, while they were looking through the Epstein files under Donald Trump, were told to flag mentions of Donald Trump's name. Now, that's all we got from that reporting. It came from the Senate Judiciary Committee, but now we're learning more about that process and just how far the FBI went to protect Donald Trump. This is huge. So Allison Gill wrote this article on Substack. She's an independent journalist saying the Epstein cover-up at the FBI inside the chaotic review process of the Epstein and Maxwell files at the Bureau. Allison Gill has been covering politics for a long time, covering Trump for a long time. So let's dive in here. As many of you know by now, Senator Dick Durbin penned a letter to Pam Bondi 2 days ago asking questions about information his office received from a protected whistleblower. The letter read in part, according to information my office received, Attorney General Pam Bondi then pressured the FBI to put approximately 1,000 personnel in its information management division, including the Record Information Dissemination Section, which handles all requests submitted by the public under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and Privacy Act, on 24-hour shifts to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records in order to produce more documents that could be then released on an arbitrarily short deadline. This effort, which reportedly took place from March 14th through the end of March, was haphazardly supplemented by hundreds of FBI New York field office personnel, many of whom lacked the experience to do that. My office was told these personnel were instructed to flag any records in which Donald Trump was mentioned. Despite tens of thousands of personnel hours reviewing and re-reviewing these Epstein-related records over the course of 2 weeks in March, it took DOJ more than 3 additional months to officially find that there is no client list. This letter, according to Allison Gill, was made public right after she filed a FOIA request for all the Epstein and Maxwell grand jury testimony. When I saw that over 1,000 people had been put to work reviewing the files, I put a call out to my Blue Sky account where she said, hey, if you're one of the 1,000 FBI agents who review the files, feel free to reach out to me via Signal. In the 24 hours since, I've received several messages, including from a former analyst that was assigned to review the files, and a few things stood out to me. First, approximately 1,000 personnel in the Information Management Division and the FBI New York field office were assigned to this task, confirming the whistleblower account made to Senator Durbin's office. I can also confirm that a log exists tracking the mentions of Donald Trump in the files, and that there were approximately 100,000 files containing roughly 300,000 pages. Individual analysts were told to flag mentions of Trump by document and page number by logging them in an Excel spreadsheet. Then they hand in their spreadsheet at the end of their sometimes 24 or even 48-hour shift. But it's important to note that the agents were not told to flag Trump until later in a process that began mid-March. Wow. So first and foremost, 100,000 files containing roughly 300,000 pages. That means that Trump has the ability to release all of these documents, of course, protecting victim information, but that there's 300,000 pages relating to Epstein out there. Donald Trump isn't releasing any of them. And only 1,000 people were put on this task to review all of these documents. And of course, working 24, 48-hour shifts, and they were told to flag Donald Trump by name. And of course, there is a log that exists tracking mentions of Donald Trump. The FBI, the DOJ has a log of which every time Donald Trump was mentioned. That's huge. It's out there somewhere. They're just choosing not to release it, of course. The process of reviewing the Epstein and Maxwell files was chaotic. 100%. And the orders were constantly changing, sometimes daily. One person I spoke to on the condition of anonymity said that many agents spent more time waiting for new instructions than they did processing the files. But here's what caught my attention. The files were stored on a shared drive that anyone in the division could access. Normally, access is only granted to those working on a project, but because of the hurried nature of the exercise, the usual permission restrictions were not in place. Additionally, the internal SharePoint site the Bureau ended up using to distribute the files toward the end did not have the usual restricted permissions. This left the Epstein and Maxwell files open to viewing by a much larger group than previously thought. That's insane. The Trump administration is just playing with these files as if they're nothing, that there's nothing really significant going on here. You can see them, you can see them, you can see them, but apparently the only people that can't are the American people. They were allowing anybody who had access to the files to view them, but now they're just not letting the American people see it. Regarding the ever-changing nature of the instructions, which one source described as full panic mode, there were at least 4 different review instructions, keeping in mind that the record information dissemination sections are trained in FOIA redactions, but many in the IMD are not. There were multiple video training sessions that went out on an unclassified network on what to mark for redaction, what not to mark, and how to record things that need to be flagged. That means that video exists of trainers explaining the process of flagging instances of Donald Trump appearing in the files, and those videos went out on unclassified networks within the Bureau. There are videos out there that exist of them being instructed to flag Donald Trump. We are learning so much from this explosive article here that so many different things exist. We're connecting Donald Trump to Epstein, whether it be these videos saying, hey, this is how you flag Donald Trump, or the fact that there is a log of which Donald Trump is mentioned, how many times he's mentioned, where it's mentioned. They all exist out there, and the Donald Trump's administration, of course, is just not releasing them. It's also of note that the trainers toward the end were folks from the DOJ and not the FBI, which is significant. That's directly the Trump admin. At first, the analysts were told to mark nothing. This was roundly rejected by the analysts, who were then told to not think about it as releasing his information, including victim names, to the public, but to think about it as releasing it to the Attorney General. It was assumed that Bondi and Patel wanted all the information, including the victims' names and information. Analysts were told what would be released would be solely up to Bondi. Many feared that victims' information would be released or used for nefarious purposes. That changed pretty quickly, and the analysts were next told to mark the victims' names for redaction. Then soon after, they were told to mark all other personal identifiable information, such as social security number and addresses. Then they were told to mark all descriptions of illicit acts, for redactions. Then finally, they were instructed to keep a spreadsheet of instances where Trump was mentioned. After the spreadsheets of mentions of Trump were handed in, they were stitched together in one master list. I was not able to learn how many mentions of Trump were on that massive list. Here's the really important part, though. As far as content, there was one confirmed mention of Donald Trump in the files, reviewed by an analyst who again spoke anonymously. Beyond that, there were other instances of Trump appearing in the files, but the number of times and to what extent is unknown, but the log exists. So there is a log out there, as we just read, that has all of the different times that Donald Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files, where he's mentioned in the Epstein files, to what extent he's mentioned in the Epstein files. Trump's administration has it. They are choosing not to release it. They are deliberately choosing not to release any documents that mention Donald Trump. And so when she is describing this article as the cover-up at the FBI to protect Donald Trump, it absolutely is accurate. Something else that stands out is the potential stress and trauma created by the review of the files. They included photos of yacht parties and photo shoots that some analysts weren't prepared for, including something really gross that Epstein did, which you can read for yourself right there. After the review was complete, the DOJ and the FBI, of course, decided not to release anything. That surprised analysts who thought for sure that a scrubbed version of the files would be released. From March 14th until its completion, the analysts assigned to review the files at the IMD were told not to leave the building. But there is a log of instances of Trump being mentioned in the files. There are videos and PDF trainings instructing analysts to flag Trump. There were multiple instances of Trump appearing in the files. Patel Bondi wanted victim information, and sloppiness means that more people had access to the files than previously known. And I want to give you an update on this story right before I end it off. She later came out after her article was published saying the amazing thing about brave people speaking out is that it inspires others to do the same by creating a permission structure. Since I published this article 4 hours ago, I've heard from multiple sources confirming what's in it. This story is truly explosive. I mean, the fact that there is a log out there with how many times Trump was mentioned, where he was mentioned, the specifics, these videos instructing people to flag Donald Trump, this is huge. And now there's more to this story than what we originally knew. So if you don't already follow Allison Gill, I would highly recommend you do so. She's Mueller. She wrote on Blue Sky, on Twitter, wherever you can follow her, you should, on Substack as well. It's the breakdown with Allison Gill. Highly recommend it. But this, and here you go, you can take a look if you want to subscribe. Amazing article from her with a lot of explosive allegations. But I will leave the video there. Please let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. I'll drop a like on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. It goes a really long way. But thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day.